All right, I'm going to show you how to create mountains using only lines today. So the first thing I'm going to be doing on my paper is drawing a horizon line across the middle of my paper. And once I have that horizon line, I'm going to go ahead and create my mountains. Now to make my mountains, I'm not going to use a perfectly straight line. I'm going to use kind of an irregular, jagged line. I can make these tall or short, but I am not going to have my mountains touch the horizon line. So I'm starting a little bit above it, and every time I go down to these peaks and valleys, I'm not going to be touching the horizon line. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing to my mountains is adding some shadows. When you add a shadow to something like a mountain, you are changing it from being a flat, boring shape to actually making it into a 3D shape. So to do that, I'm first going to decide which direction the sunlight is hitting my mountain peaks. So on one side of the mountain, wherever the sun hits it, that is where it's going to be its brightest. And on the opposite side, that is where the shadow is cast. So I think I'm going to decide, I think I'll put my shadows to the left of my mountains. And so in order to do this, I'm going to be starting at the top of my mountains. This is called the peak. So I'm going to start here, the peak of my mountain, and I'm going to make a regular shape again. And I'm going to have it come back up to this valley. So it's fine if your line is really bumpy and irregular because mountains are not regular shapes. They are usually very bumpy and rocky. Not a lot of perfectly straight lines are seen in nature. So if your shadow line looks really crazy, that'll actually help create the illusion that your mountain is a real shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of my little mountains here. This one's a shorter one, so this line is not going to be as large. This one's pretty big, so I'm going to make this one pretty large. And every time it comes back up, it ends in a valley. I'm going to do this one next. This one's coming down from the peak, going to the valley. And two more. And this one goes off the side. All right, so once I have drawn all the outlines for my shadowy shapes, I'm going to go ahead and add something called hatching. Hatching is a fancy art word for using parallel lines to create the illusion of shadows. So what I'm going to do is turn my paper, because I work better when this is sideways, and I'm going to start filling in these shadowy outlines with hatch lines. So if all my lines are going in the same direction and they're all close together, that is called hatching. So this is a way that artists will create shadows without having to take the side of their pencil and go back and forth and smudge. You can also do this with fine point pens, and it creates a really cool effect. So if you're drawing and you don't want to get pencil smudges all over your fingers, you can also do shadows by using hatch lines. So I'm going to go ahead and fill all these in with these little parallel lines that are all close together. All right, awesome. So now I have my mountain range. This side is the side that the sun is shining on, and this is this shadow that's cast on the other side of the mountain. And we've gone from creating a flat, boring mountain into three-dimensional mountains. So you can experiment and explore different types of lines that you can use to create your shadows. You can even add a few little bumps and ridges here and there. You can add additional little pockets of shadows here and there to add a little bit of realism to your work. So go ahead and have fun creating mountains for a landscape.